What's up, YouTubers? It's Nick,
What's up?
Foster for Driving, and
Ryan 1988. Justin, what's up?
so we've got, let's see, Dylan Tour Show. What's up, man?
What's going on? Hey, Pat, how are you doing, buddy?
Hello. So, guys, today is going to be the theme of what we're doing today is like we're going to talk about some classic horror movies, and not necessarily they don't have to be classics, but some well-known horror movies or horror movies that we love. And we're going to
Yeah.
talk about our experiences when we first saw them. What we thought of them, just memories. That's why it's titled Horror Movie Memories. And this idea was given by Justin. So
Yeah.
this is Justin's topic. So we're gonna let Justin take the floor. Justin, go right ahead. You know what, Phil? I have the door open so William can walk in and out. Sorry, I got a message. We're going to let Justin take the floor with the first one. So, Justin, why don't you go ahead and talk about, just give me a movie. Tell me about your experience and your memories with it.
All right. So I am going to repeat something that we talked about last week, but I am going to put a twist on this. So I'm going to talk, the first one's Halloween and Halloween 2. However, the TV versions. And the reason why I bring these up is because Halloween, the TV cut, and Halloween 2, the TV cut, which is in the Steelbook, were the first time I ever saw any of the Halloween movies. That's how I was introduced to Halloween. And I just remember as a kid watching these movies on TV and seeing the TV footage. And I thought it was really cool. And so later on, getting the DVDs, like the very first DVDs, not seeing that footage at all. And it always, like, I always just remember thinking, where is this footage that was in the ones that I would see on TV? And it wasn't until later on that I realized that they shot additional TV footage for Halloween 1 and 2. So I remember, like, for instance, Halloween, in the TV cut, the scene with Laurie and Linda, going into Laurie's house and saying that, like, somebody was stalking her and following her, and little memories like that. So when I first saw Halloween and Halloween 2, they were the TV versions. And then again, later on, I would watch the theatrical cuts, and that footage was never there. And it wasn't until I got older that I realized that, that was all TV footage that they shot. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So let's see here real quick. It's your buddy Pat.
Did they use the same 6-year-old Michael Myers on the TV version? I don't know. Like, that was the thing. Pat, I have no idea. Part of me wants to say yes, and he was just older. And another part of me wants to say that it was a different kid. But the kid that they used in the TV version of Halloween 2 had similarities to the kid in the first Halloween. So I'm not sure. I would have to go look that up on IMDb and see if that actor came back for Halloween 2. That would be really cool.
Sure. I'm not sure about that either. I thought that the answer was no, because it was kind of a last minute thrown together thing. So
yeah.
To do the TV footage, it was actually while they were filming Halloween 2 as well. I don't know. I don't want to say for sure though. So yeah, we'll just look it up.
I'll have to see. That would be cool. Hello. But yeah, that's interesting. I always thought that though. Can't find the answer anywhere. I'm gonna look it up later. I am gonna look that up. As a Halloween fan, it's my mission to go try to find that.
That's cool. I didn't watch those TV cuts until it was after I'd already become a fan of the series, at least that I can remember that I watched them, and I was like, wow, what's this different footage? So that's cool. I never thought to talk about those last week. We should have talked about those.
Yeah. Well, I didn't think about it until today when I was thinking about movies that my favorite horror movies that I saw for the first time. And yeah, so like Halloween and Halloween 2, it was like 97 when I first saw these movies. And it was like the vivid memories I have. But every time that I would watch them on TV, normally they would have that TV footage And so when I saw Halloween, like for instance, the first one, the theatrical cut, I was like, where are those scenes at that I just remember? So very cool.
And by the way, guys, you're going to see me drink a lot of Gatorade throughout this. Sorry if that's distracting. As I was just talking to Justin about before we came on, I got my second dose of my COVID vaccine today, so I'm trying to stay hydrated so I don't feel like crap because I have work tomorrow. So,
well, right, so, I always have a beverage with me, so it's okay. So,
yeah. All right. So then one of the ones I want to talk about, and I want to hear your thoughts on this, Justin. Afterward, real quick, the Halloween TV scenes were deleted. No, and then Pat came in. Yeah, they did shoot that years later. Actually, that was shot by John Carpenter in 81 or 80 when they were 81 or 80 when they were shooting Halloween 2, and NBC Universal was like, we need the runtime to be longer to have it on TV. So John just took the camera and was like, I'll film like 3 extra scenes or whatever it is to fill up that time. So that's what it was. So one of the ones that I want to talk about, and I'm sure you are a fan of this movie. Actually, I'm pretty sure. Sorry, I'm trying to make sure there's nothing on it. The Fog.
Oh, yeah, I almost pulled that one too.
Yeah, let's talk about The Fog really quick. And this movie, I saw this movie, by the way, the Steelbook is gorgeous if you guys don't have it. Oh my God, the ring light. Yeah, I got a ring light now, guys. I'm moving up there.
That's awesome.
But The Fog is a movie that I saw that movie when I was a kid because my mom was a big JLC fan and John Carpenter fan, as I've talked about before. And she said it was scary, this and that. When I first watched The Fog, it didn't scare me. Like the only thing that scared me was, and my mom would play this joke on us. She would always do this, like, and like randomly, like throughout the house at random times, just to try to freak us out. And like, it was cool, it was creepy, but it didn't scare me. But I remember watching it and being like, this was John's follow-up to Halloween. This movie's awesome. Like, I love Tom Atkins. I love Adrienne Barbeau. I love Jamie Lee, Nancy Loomis, Janet Leigh. I mean, just the list goes on and on. The cast is awesome. I think it's a very original idea, and the ending is really like dark. Like you think, they're absolutely they're fine. And then it's like, no, Blake still wants you dead. So and I thought that was cool. And yes, Pat, your comment, yes, and the score. And that was the next thing I was going to talk about, because John Carpenter, and I could be wrong, I haven't seen every John Carpenter movie. His scores and his cinematography, I mean, Dean Cundey knows how to shoot a scene. He's a great director of photography. John's a great composer. So Fog for me was one of those movies that I watched when I was a kid, had a lasting impact on me, and I love it. I mean, it's still one of my favorite Carpenter movies. A lot of people say The Thing is their second favorite Carpenter movie. This might be my second favorite, is The Fog. So, but what about you, Justin? What did you think when you first saw The Fog?
So, and you know what? I almost pulled that off the shelf, because that movie I remember seeing on TV. That was the first time I saw it. Sci-Fi played it. I would say it was like 2003 or 2004. And I remember like instantly falling in love with it. I remember Jamie Lee Curtis. I remember the cast. You have, still today, it's one of the best casts in a movie in general. Like, that ensemble cast is great. I remember the ghosts, the pirates, the setting. I love the atmosphere and the look of it, and the fact that it took place on this small island. And like Pat said, the iconic score, like the score is still one of my favorite scores. And I love from time to time to put it on and listen to it. I love it so much. So I remember, we don't talk about the remake too much, but I remember 2005 though, getting because when they would do a remake, they always release the original films on DVD. And so I finally remember buying the DVD of the original Fog, and I was so excited. And then later on meeting Adrienne Barbeau and having her sign the DVD, still have it today. And I love the Fog. Iconic. And like you said, it's one of those films. I know The Thing is a lot of people's either favorite movie or their second favorite film of Carpenter's. I always go back and forth between The Thing and The Fog as my second favorite Carpenter movie. But I love The Fog so much, and I'm rambling a little bit, but it is a scary movie. Like that climax of the movie is terrifying. It's a creepy.
When she's on the roof of the lighthouse, I'm like,
oh
my
yeah,
God. Like how do you even hang on? Like that's I love that scene.
but like the church scene with like Hal Holbrook, the father in the movie, and like even the very end of it, when there's like that kind of that last 30 seconds of him in the church and the ghost coming back and getting him, so creepy, and then the music pops up
and he's just like,
yes, yes, it's creepy. It's still creepy.
And that's what I'm saying. You get this ending and you're like, oh, it's good. Like they rectified their mistakes or whatever, but no, they still wanted him. They came back for the descendants of the people that wronged them, and they weren't going to stop until they were all dead. So, hey,
I love it. I think The Fog's kind of I mean, people love it, but I think it's a little bit underrated. Like a little bit, not too much, but a little bit, because again, people put Halloween, The Thing as like the two big Carpenter movies. But for me, if we didn't have like Halloween or The Fog, we would not have The Thing.
Yep.
So
this bona fide classic if you guys haven't seen it. All right, Justin, what's another movie you got?
All right. So again, I'm going to pull, okay, these two right here. So 5 years old, this is a 5-year-old me coming in the living room, and my older sister's friend was putting on a movie. And I sat behind the couch literally for almost 3 hours because she put one on and then part two. They both terrified me. That's Nightmare on Elm Street and Nightmare on Elm Street 2. You got that one too.
Yes.
Both these movies. So especially Nightmare on Elm Street. We'll talk about both of them because I actually love both these movies so much. But yeah, 5 years old, like sitting down in a living room behind a couch. And I still remember Tina's death scene in the first movie. And that was the first time we saw, like, we really saw Freddy Krueger. So I'm sitting there at 5 years old behind the couch watching this. I could not move. Like, my body could not move. And I thought, if I get up, something might happen. So I sat and watched all of Nightmare on Elm Street and part two without no one knowing I was in the living room. And they both terrified me. Freddy Krueger terrified me. I did not watch a Nightmare on Elm Street movie, or at least the first one, until I was like 15, because he scared me as a kid. He was terrifying. And so it's so funny now, this is like in my top 10 favorite horror movies. But as a kid, as a 5-year-old, that terrified me. Both movies did. I mean, as a kid, they both terrified me. So I think Freddy Krueger really scared me. How about you?
So yeah, that was the next one I was going to talk about. I knew we were going to land on that movie, so I was like, let's talk about this one as one of the first ones. Okay, so like I've said before, I remember the first time I saw this movie, and the first time I saw this movie was shown to me by my wonderful mother when I was a child, and I believe, I can't remember if it was like USA or AMC or something. It was on one of the the movie channels, and she showed it to me, and she warned me that it was scary, blah blah blah. And I'm like, oh, whatever. As a kid, I think I can handle it. I'm not scared of it, dude. That movie, the first time I saw it, scared the crap out of me because for me personally, I thought it was just so creepy because it's like he comes for you in your dreams. So where are you safe? Like, and that whole idea just scared the crap out of me. And like now, I've talked about this before. It's like Michael is my favorite. Halloween is my favorite. But Freddy Krueger is the scariest because he puts you in your dreams, and you're never safe. And Pat says the fact that we don't clearly see Freddy's face in the first one is great. Yes, it's another. Yes. They shroud the monster in darkness like these monster movies used to do. And yeah, that movie scared the crap out of me. I mean, yeah.
A couple scenes I could think of with that movie. The high school scene when I'm drawing. Nancy is having her dream, and the first thing you see is like, Tina's dead body in the body bag, and obviously she goes out in the hallway. You have that student there, and she goes, "Where's your pass?" And like, I remember as a kid, again, watching this as 5 years old, when she says, "Screw your pass," and she starts walking off, and she goes, that Freddie's voice pops up and says, "Nancy, no running in the hallway."
Yeah.
That freaked me out.
And for me, that's the scariest scene in the movie, when you see her in the body bag at the end of the hallway. That her face in the body bag, creepy. That scene scared me as a kid.
But there's that boiler scene. Pat's talking about. Did you guys like Escape from New York? That is I will say, Escape from New York, I do like that movie, but that is not one of my all-time favorite Carpenter movies.
I enjoy it as well, but
I enjoy it. But yeah,
what's up, Dan?
Hello, what's up? But that scene with Freddie down in the boiler room when Nancy first sees him and he comes out of that shadow and you really don't see his face too much. That scene or that shot alone is scary. So,
yeah. All right, so this is another one, and you might have grabbed this one off your shelf. I hope so. We think a lot alike, but if you haven't, I know you want to talk about it. So
yeah, okay.
I just did a video on the channel about these movies, and
I know what you're talking about.
Yep, Pet Sematary.
Oh my gosh, Pet Sematary.
Let's talk about it. First of all, for me, this was another movie that my mom showed me. Because, like I said, my wonderful mother just loved to torment her children with scary movies.
Yeah.
And as a kid, this movie, I mean, it makes you. The first time I saw it, I'm not even kidding. I was younger. I cried when Gage died. I cried because it was so deep, and I was like, they really just killed a 2-year-old. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I didn't see how it affects the family, and but I will never forget as a child. Zelda and the impact that Zelda had on me as a kid. That whole thing, and that's one of my only knocks with the remake, is that they did not handle Zelda well at all in the remake.
Yeah, I agree.
But in the original, that was one of the scariest things to happen in a horror movie when I was a kid. That was one of the scariest things I saw. And my mom knew it scared me so much that she would continue all the time to just be like, "Rachel." My mom continued to try to get under my skin with that. That movie scared the crap out of me, and just and I remember again that it's another movie that she showed me on one of the movie networks. I was probably 8 or 9. I mean, just completely scarred me. So yeah, that movie, love it, classic, terrifying, and even now as an adult, having a child and watching that is super hard to watch. I mean, it really is. So that's a classic for me. But what do you think about it?
So Pet Sematary. So I'm glad you brought this one up. Again, we think alike. It's great. So Pet Sematary for me, I think I have a lot of the same feelings you do. But I remember my mom, I went to visit her in Illinois, and we went to the local mom and pop video store. And it was me and my younger sisters and my mom, and she brought up Pet Sematary. She's like, "We're going to rent this movie, and you guys are going to see this." And we're like, "Okay." And when we first saw it, it freaked us out. I remember, especially the Zelda scenes, like you mentioned, Zelda. Oh, closing my eyes because her face scared me, and then her voice. She would start talking, and still today, when I watch this movie, she is one that every time I finish it, I hear her voice in my head. Yeah, I can hear her talking. And I'm not gonna lie, it is. Let's see. How are you doing? I'm not gonna lie. There's a couple times because she gives me goosebumps still today, I will skip some of her scenes. Not all the time, but there are a couple times I will watch this movie and just kind of skip some of those moments. Because if I'm watching it in the dark by myself, it's midnight, it's gonna give me the creeps. Mm-hmm. But I want to talk about real quick Pet Sematary 2, because Pet Sematary 2, and I have that as well.
I only have the DVD, but yeah.
Oh, I have the Blu-ray. It's over there. But Pet Sematary 2 for me, I saw before Pet Sematary. And I just remember, let's see, I recently learned plays. Oh, really? Wow. Oh, that's cool. The creature from Pan's Labyrinth and The Shape of Water. That's pretty awesome. But I met that actor at a convention. They were doing a Pet Cemetery reunion, and I just went up to him and I said hello. And I said, "You scared me as a kid." And he's like, "I hope that's like a compliment." I said, "Of course it's a compliment. As a horror movie fan, that's good stuff." So, but Pet Cemetery too. I saw that first as a kid, and I just have great memories watching it, being kind of terrified by it. I mean, it's cheesy now in some ways, but I love Pet Cemetery too. Like that's for me a great underrated sequel.
Hello.
Hello. The first horror movie
he's taught. First horror movie I saw was Halloween. Scared the life out of me. I would think Michael was real and was coming to get me. Yes, and I felt the same way because, as we talked about last week, my mom worked 2 jobs, so I always had a babysitter. So I was like, oh my God, he's gonna come for my babysitter, and then he's gonna get me in the process. It was. I totally agree with that. So I completely understand where you're coming from there. But yeah,
my mom
about Pet Cemetery 2, really quick. This might seem blasphemous. I hadn't seen Pet Sematary 2 until about a year ago. And that was because my mother had warped my mind into telling me it's bad, don't watch it, it's terrible, blah, 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 blah. So I never got around to it. And then I was at FYE and I saw that DVD for like $3 and they didn't have the Blu-ray. And I was like, well, I've never seen it, so I'll just buy the DVD. That way I can watch it. And I mean, I didn't hate it. Like, I didn't hate it. I think that the stepdad, I think he plays a great mean stepdad. You feel really bad for Drew and his dog because everybody had a dog or a cat that they loved growing up, and if they died, you'd be really upset. And Edward Furlong. I mean, Edward Furlong. I love Edward Furlong. So it was nice to see him when he was younger. I think he did well in the movie. So yeah, I think one thing that really stands out for Pet Sematary 2 for me, like with the first movie, you had the Ramones sing, Pet Sematary. The soundtrack in Pet Sematary 2 is great. I think it's a great soundtrack. I really love it. It came out in the 90s. It feels 90s. I love it. Clancy Brown, who plays the father in it, the Drew's dad, the sheriff, he's creepy. He does such a great job. And still today, when I see Clancy Brown in any movie, I think of him for Pet Sematary. Yep.
Pet Sematary 2.
Hello.
How are you?
Yeah, Phil says that Signs messed him up when he was a kid. Signs scared the crap out of me. And I will say, and then he also said the
creepy stuff. Yeah, the others.
When I saw Signs, I'll never forget the scene that everybody always talks about when you hear about Signs is it's the birthday party or whatever, and you see the alien walk across. Yeah, that scared the crap out of me. And the others is really, really underrated. I really like that's Nicole Kidman, right?
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Yeah. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but it's great.
The twist in that movie caught me by surprise for sure. But that movie was creepy when I was a kid. These are movies that my mom would show me that she should have never shown me. But yeah.
If you want a great haunted house movie that almost has that same look and atmosphere that the others has, is a movie called The Changeling from 1980. Okay. That is a terrifying movie. That I did not watch growing up, but that's a creepy movie. So,
yeah. We got Isaiah. Hello, how you doing?
Hello. Hi, Isaiah. How are you?
Sarah says Psycho was the first horror film to scare the hell out of her.
It's got some creepy stuff. I mean, it's an eerie movie. That I think the build up to Janet Leigh's death, because I mean, you could see it so many times, but still, the build up gets you because she is going to die at some point in this movie. It's going to happen. So, yeah, that's a great one.
The scene in Psycho that scared me was when you have the revelation
at the end
of his mom in the rocking chair in the basement. The skeleton. Yeah, that creeped me out when I was a kid. I was like, oh my God, she's dead.
Great build up. Yeah, it's creepy. Yeah, so creepy.
Bill says, what are your guys' favorite scary moment from a non-horror film? Honestly, I don't know. I really don't know.
Okay, I'm going to tell you this. The Original Witches from 1990. It is not a horror movie, but that movie still today gives me goosebumps because my older sister, and I tell the story a lot, I love her, we get along, but as a kid, I was like 3 years old. And if she wanted to keep me out of the living room because she was doing something, she would put on The Witches. And if you've ever seen the original Witches, there's that ballroom scene where they unveil their true selves. And the lead witch, she takes off her skin. She's like this ugly witch. And that scared me as a kid. That freaked me out. And it's not a horror movie. That movie was made for, young youths and kids to watch. It was Jim Henson. I think he did the puppets for it. I don't know if he directed it, but that scared me as a kid. A non-horror movie that scares me. That is one.
Mine that I thought of when we were talking about it is pretty funny. And a lot of people in this chat, I'm sure you've seen it. You probably watched them as kids. I still watch them every year. And now I have a kid, so I can say, oh, we're watching it for him. I'll use that as an excuse, but no, I still love them. Halloween Town, the movies. And one of the moments when I was a kid in Halloween Town 2, at the end when it's the school dance and everyone turns into the creatures, the masks that they're wearing and whatnot.
Oh,
and the dad, or not, it's the mom with the goblin mask, and she turns into like a goblin. That scared the crap out of me when I was a kid. I was like, oh, no. Like, and that is so far from a horror movie. Those movies are so cheesy, but I absolutely love them. And that scene. So if you guys have seen Halloween Town 2, you remember she's wearing that goblin mask or whatever, and she turns into a freaking goblin. And it's like, no, it's creepy.
They made, and I think today, and there's nothing wrong with like the movies that come out on Disney Channel today. I mean, it's a different time. But I think they made movies a little bit more creepy when we were growing up, like Halloween Town. The first Halloween Town as a kid, like when they're in that theater and you see the villain for the first time, creeped me out as a kid. So Goosebumps. I mean, Goosebumps or Are You Afraid of the Dark? Like stuff like that.
Yes.
Terrifying. And it wasn't horror movies. It was just had scary elements into it. So
yeah, Vacancy is pretty good. Vacancy is a fun movie.
Yeah.
It didn't scare me, but I do enjoy that movie. That's Luke Wilson, if I'm correct, right?
The Strangers. I'm doing great today. How are you doing?
We got Dan says Psycho 3 was my introduction to that series. Psycho 3 is better than Psycho 2. I don't know. That's hard.
I'd say Psycho 2 is my favorite sequel, but Psycho 3 is really good.
Yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, it probably is too. I don't know why I said that. But yes, Psycho 3 is a good sequel. Psycho is one of those series where it didn't need sequels, but they were fine. Whereas you get to a series like The Exorcist, and almost all of those sequels, in my opinion, aside from part 3, are just really subpar. So, then we got Dennis. What's up, Dennis? How you doing?
What's up? How are you doing?
Isaiah says Sign still scares me. Yeah, I won't lie. It scares me too.
It's creepy. It's got some creepy.
I believe that we are not, we're kind of we're not a big deal. We think we are on Earth, but there are so many galaxies out there, so many planets. I mean, there's got to be life. I think that. So I'm always like, what if they come one day,
Have you seen The Fourth Kind? That is a terrifying.
Oh, Justin. Let me find that.
I forgot about that movie, but that's terrifying. That's just scary.
Oh my gosh, where's it at?
Oh, I think the Halloween Town movies are still amazing too. Yeah, The Fourth Kind's scary. That's a scary movie.
That is, in my opinion, that is still my favorite Alien movie. And
so my buddy Pat. Yeah, my buddy Pat, real quick, he just messaged me. I just like the first thing that popped up. Zelda, the guy who played in Pan's Labyrinth and Shape of Water, was not Zelda in the original Pet Sematary.
Yeah, I think I saw that comment. Sorry, Pat. I'm going.
Yeah, I know.
The
he messaged me. I just saw the message.
Keep it up, guys. I love it. Scary Disney films for me. The Watcher in the Woods.
Watchers in the Woods.
Yeah.
Oh, that I just watched for the first time. That is creepy. That is a creepy movie.
Let's see, Psycho 2 is easily my favorite. Okay.
I wanted to mention Psycho 2, for a movie that came out 20 years after the first movie. It's a great sequel. It is a great sequel.
Yep. The Hills Run Red.
The Hills Run Red. I just rewatched it. I really enjoy that.
I haven't seen it in a long time, but I did enjoy it when I watched it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Phil, The Conjuring 2 is the scariest movie I've seen as an adult. Okay, this is hard for me because the scariest theater experience I've ever had to this day is The Conjuring. And that theater experience terrified me. I'm not someone that shies away from horror movies. You guys know that. You know the channel. But that was one of the movies I'm in the theater and I'm kind of like it really creeped me out. Supernatural stuff creeps me out because I grew up in a religious household. So
yeah,
it's like it's
yeah.
just but The Conjuring 2, yes, it has some very freaky moments. But for me, I feel like the first one is like
that's slightly better, slightly creepier.
Yeah.
You know what got me was Insidious. When I saw that in theaters, that creeped me out. I don't know if it was the air conditioning above me, but I would get chills when I'm watching certain scenes in the theater watching Insidious, like the red-faced demon, like that creeps me out.
Oh yeah, Darth Maul.
Yeah.
No.
Creepy. Yeah.
Signs is creepy. Oh yeah, it is. Psycho 2 is one of the best horror film sequels ever made, and The Hills Run Red was awesome.
Agreed.
Psycho 2 is great. Tom Holland's script is great. Yes, it is.
Oh, speaking of Tom Holland, you guys love the new Creepshow movie. I
love the original 2 Creepshows. They scared the crap out of me as a kid. But
yeah. Well, speaking of Tom Holland, somebody mentioned he wrote Psycho 2. One of the other movies I pulled. I don't know if you might have seen this movie, but this is a film I grew up with. You ready for this? So, Fright Night, the original.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure you had seen this, but yeah.
Oh, yeah.
This scared me as a kid. I mean, a lot of people say it's comedy. It's a comedy horror movie. And I get there's funny moments, but as a kid, this scared me so much. So I remember growing up just seeing this on TV or on VHS. But I remember going through the video store and seeing the original cover on VHS, and the cover scared me so much. I would have to either close my eyes or not even look at it when I was walking down the aisle. But as a kid, this terrified me. It's now one of my favorite movies. Tom Holland directed this movie. Then he would go do Child's Play. He was such, and still is, I don't know if he does too much today, but as a writer who would go on to also direct, he wrote a lot of great things. He directed some great stuff. Fright Night, prime example. The basement scene where Amy comes down and she's the vampire and she turns around to hide her face and then she reveals that big monstrous face. It's still creepy today.
Yeah.
So Fright Night.
That movie's awesome. Chris Sarandon, still one of my favorite vampires. I love him in that movie. Also, another one of my favorite vampires, Kiefer Sutherland from
Lost Boys. Scared me as a kid. Yeah.
Sarah had a question. Has a horror film ever made you leave the theater because it was too scary? No. Not
the theater, but I will say I've never run out of a movie before. But when I watched James Wan's Dead Silence, there's a moment in Dead Silence that I remember watching it for the first time at home. Again, it was dark. And there's a scene with the character Mary Shaw. She's confronting somebody. And it was so scary that I had to walk out of the room for a second.
Yeah.
So I never left the theater.
I showed that to my fiance 2 weeks ago. Because that scared the crap out of me when I was a kid. And it scared my brother. And my little brother tries to lie and say that it didn't scare him. When he was a kid, we would say, beware the stare of Mary Shaw. And it would freak him out. So
the whole thing is creepy. That whole movie.
The scene in the cellar.
That's it.
House.
That's it. That's the scene I'm talking about. Yeah.
That scene with the tongue. Oh no. That scene scared the crap out of me.
That whole movie's terrifying.
How great is? I've never seen Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
It's awesome. It's one you got to put on your list to watch, Nick. It's a great movie.
I haven't seen it, but I have heard that as well. Dennis says you guys both have nice shirts. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know where you can get them in Germany, but I got this one at, this is a Halloween 2. I got this one
I love that.
I think Hot Topic years ago, believe it or not.
I got this on a website, Gutter Garbs. No, I take that back. This is Terror. No, Cavity Colors. This is Cavity Colors.
Yes, and that's a great website, Dennis. Cavity Colors. Also, rockabilia.com. They have there's a lot of music stuff on there, but they also have a lot of great movie and TV show merchandise. So, Crying, still got to see Fright Night. Yes, you do. What are you doing? And
put that on your list.
Too, Crying, the remake is actually really good too. I really enjoyed the remake.
And I gotta mention this real quick: Fright Night Part 2, the original.
Yes.
See, talk about a movie I've seen more than the first movie, because as a kid, I would see this at the video store. I rented this constantly on VHS. Fright Night Part 2, and this is the out-of-print DVD, is, in my opinion, one of the best horror movie sequels ever made. I love Fright Night Part 2.
Yeah, that's a great movie. Very underrated. It doesn't get talked about enough.
It doesn't.
Conjuring actually gave me a near panic attack. And The Strangers. Yes, that's another one. Scared the crap out of me.
Terrifying. Terrifying.
When I was 13, and I remember seeing that in theaters, and that scared the crap out of me. Because, I mean, that's one of those movies where it's like, it could be anyone. Like, they could go, to any house and just decide we want to torture and kill your family. Like,
I remember seeing that movie for the first time, and the house alone, the deserted kind of like neighborhood, reminded me of my grandma and grandpa's house growing up. They had a house that was similar like that.
Yeah, and there's a few moments in that movie where, like, I watch what they do, and I'm like, I would not have done that. That's dumb.
No.
Yeah, like shooting his friend when he walks in. He didn't even he just shot. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
He had called his friend, I mean, like, I don't know. I feel like I get it, but there's just, and then she goes and hides in the bedroom when they're at one point, I can't remember what it is, but she gets in the bedroom and she gets on the ground next to the nightstand, and she just cowers in the corner. And I'm like, at this point, I'm running. Like, I'm going out the window and I'm running. Like,
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it still kind of freaks me out today. I will watch it, and it's the little things in it. It's the environment. It's that music that keeps playing over and over and over again. Yeah, it's creep show. There's some good creepy moments in that. So.
Yeah, The Exorcist was the first one I saw too. I actually have a video. My buddy Ken does Sledgehammer Horror. That's the channel. We sat down a couple weeks ago, and he has a series he does called My First Horror Movie. Check out my episode with him on there. And we talk about The Exorcist, and that was my first horror movie, and that scared the absolute crap out of me. So
yeah. I didn't see that until later on, because I've heard nothing but scary things about The Exorcist. So
yeah. I mean, here's the thing about the Fright Night movies. All of them are good, in my opinion. The original's a classic. The second one is a great underrated horror sequel.
Yeah.
The remake is super fun and well acted. You have Toni Collette, you have Colin Farrell, and then the only one for me that's kind of weird is Fright Night 2, the sequel to the remake, which is essentially just another remake in Europe.
So, yeah, I mean, it's a remake. So I'm not going to lie. The first time I saw, being that I am a huge fan of Fright Night 1 and 2, the originals, when I first saw the remake in theaters, I was not a fan. But over time, I like the fun stuff about it. And the performances are great. You have Anton Yelchin, rest in peace, great in the movie. Fright Night Part 2, that one you just talked about, that's a pretty, I mean, for a straight-to-video movie, yes, it's a remake pretty much. It's fun. It's a fun one. I have it. I have them all. I have them all. I enjoy it. I mean, for straight-to-video, it surprised me.
Yeah, so I was just bummed because they marketed it like it was going to be a sequel, and I did enjoy the remake. So, and don't get it confused, guys. The Friday Night remake is not scary, but
it's
really
fun.
And so I wouldn't mind to see a sequel to it. And they name it Fright Night 2, and I'm like, okay, it's gonna be a sequel, and it's not a sequel. So it's kind of bummed about that.
Kind of marketing.
You're not gonna find a movie scarier than the original Exorcist. That's a damn good point. When I was a kid, I would have agreed. Now I say The Conjuring.
Can I tell you something? Exorcist 3, if you've never seen it, yes, it's its own thing. Yes, it was originally called Legion. Exorcist 3, and might be blasphemy. I'm just gonna say it. Exorcist 3 is my favorite of the franchise.
Oh, whoa,
Rewatching it
Justice!
now, over the years, it was not. But the last couple years I've watched it. Not only is it my favorite, but it's the scariest for me. And it's not, you don't have Reagan. And Reagan's scary. Don't get me wrong. The original movie is scary. And I love it. It's, again, another favorite of mine. But Exorcist 3, it's scary to watch it today.
Yeah, for sure. I did enjoy that. Oh, Dennis, I am so glad you mentioned that, my friend, because this movie is fantastic.
I love it. It is fantastic.
I love what they did with Pray at Night, because they were like, we're not going to redo what we did with the first one. They basically
made it a
slasher. Throwback 80s slasher. Yeah.
They made it a slasher movie.
The soundtrack
I love
is fantastic. The cinematography, and I've said this before, Christina Hendricks is like my number one crush. I love Christina Hendricks, and she is fantastic in the movie. Wish she didn't die so early, but yeah, I mean, that movie's awesome. I have such a fun time with that movie. What, Kids in America, Total Eclipse of the Heart in the pool scene. Oh,
that pool scene's amazing. There's a couple songs that after I watched the movie, I went back and I was like, let me track down these songs. It's a great soundtrack. That is one of my all-time favorite sequels. I know it's a newer one, but I love that sequel so much.
I saw that movie 4 times in theaters because I loved it so much. And Justin will love this. It was filmed in northern Kentucky, so you can see Cincinnati, Ohio in the background when they're loading up the car. And I'm sitting in the theater. I still lived in Cincinnati at the time, and I was like, that's Cincinnati. Like, what? And then I Googled it, and it was like, yep, it was filmed in northern Kentucky, Florence. And I was like, what? I go to Florence all the time. I want to find the exact locations, though.
I was so bummed. Yeah. I didn't mean to interrupt you. We talk over each other sometimes. I was so bummed out because they actually had the pool. They had a screening of Strangers Pray at Night as an event. And you can go there and meet the actors and actresses who played the strangers. And I was going to go to that screening of that where they shot the pool scene, and I missed out on it. It would have been so much fun.
Oh my God. I remember that too. That was, Sarah agrees with you about The Exorcist 3, Justin.
There you go.
Yeah.
I honestly prefer, but Exorcist is that original movie. There's a reason why it's scary, and the reason why it's still shocking today, like it was back when it came out. There was nothing like that back when it came out. You had Rosemary's Baby, which in its own right is an eerie, terrifying movie, but Exorcist, when it came out, you had a 13-year-old, 12-year-old girl being possessed and all the stuff that was going on in that movie. It's terrifying.
Yep. Let's see. Dan recorded his Pray at Night review. All right. Yeah. I love the movie too.
I love it. I love that movie so much.
I'll be checking that out, Dan. All right, Justin, what's another movie you pulled off your shelf that you want to talk about?
All right. So I'm going to mix it up, go a little modern. We're talking modern stuff here. Okay. So it's so sad that this movie came out and bombed. I saw it opening weekend when it came out. House of Wax, the 2005 movie. House of Wax. I love this so much. I know this movie. I think this movie over time has grown a lot of love for people. But I think when it came out, I remember the build up to this release. I remember seeing MTV do like a mini documentary series on the making of House of Wax. There you go. And they did so much cool promotion for this movie. There are so many things I love about this movie that I loved when I first saw it. I love the fact that the entire town was built from scratch. I mean, the detail was awesome. The kills are great. People give Paris Hilton flack. I think she's actually pretty good in this. She has a great chase scene in the movie.
Her death is one of the coolest deaths in modern horror. I love it.
It is. I'm psyched. I don't know if you know this. So Scream Factory's doing this. They're releasing this. But Paris Hilton's coming back and doing an interview. I'm like, how did you get a hold of Paris Hilton to do this?
Okay.
So let me show you something real quick. This is 16 years old. I still have my movie ticket.
Oh my Lord.
It looks like it's faded, but it's not.
Wow.
$5 to go see this. It was me and a few other people in the theater, but I love this movie so much. I'm glad more people are appreciating this movie now more than it did when it came out, because I think people didn't want to go see it because Paris Hilton's in the movie, and it just didn't do well. It's a shame it didn't do well, but I'm glad people are now kind of watching it and appreciating the movie. It is a great remake. I love it. I actually kind of think of it more of a remake to a movie called Tourist Trap. If you've never seen Tourist Trap from 1978, it's more of a remake to that. But yeah, I love House of Wax.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of love for House of Wax in the chat room.
Thank you. Yes. I love Paris Hilton too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, practical effects. I mean, just amazing.
I'm one of those people that you mentioned, Justin. I'm one of the people that didn't like it when I first saw it. And then I that's actually not my House of Wax. That's Brooks. She owned House of Wax. And we moved in together, and she gave, she merged some of our movies together, and she was like, I love this movie. You don't like this movie? I was like, I watched it years ago. I did not like it. And we watched it again, and we watched it a couple times since then. I dig it. It's so fun.
It's good.
Yeah, I know. You want to be in the video. But one of the coolest things about it for me was the literal House of Wax and everything made out of wax. And then when they're melting, you see the skeletons and the carcasses underneath. I'm like,
again, it's like the detail that they put into this movie. And by the way, like, there are movies that, like, when you first see them, because I'm that way, when you first see them, you might not like them, but over time, I think it's when you rewatch them, you start appreciating them more and more.
Yep.
But yeah, it's so neat. The detail's fantastic. Orphan's a great movie.
Yeah, and aren't they making a sequel to that, Justin, or is it a prequel?
It's a prequel. The same girl's coming back, so I kind of wonder how they're going to do that. Like, I'm kind of curious. They're not really talking about it too much. They're keeping it a little bit of a secret.
Yeah.
So.
All right, guys. Well, I got one that I just thought of. I have another one sitting here, but I thought of this because I was looking at the shelf. If you guys, I haven't gone over this before, but I have tiers of my shelf. And on the very bottom is a lot of DVDs, movies that I haven't gotten Blu-rays for yet. Not because I don't want to, but because I sometimes prioritize Halloween and newer movies that are coming out on Blu-ray. So, William, don't touch that. So, I want to talk about this movie. And this movie scared the crap out of me as a kid. And Sarah mentioned a comment earlier about, has a movie ever made you walk out of the theater? I didn't see it in the theater. My mom rented it from Blockbuster when I was, let me see what year it was. And I hope you have an affinity. 03. So I was 9.
Okay.
This was a movie that I could not finish until I was an adult. Until I was like 22. And that is The Ring.
Ooh.
This movie.
That's scary.
Scared the crap out of me. And when I say I couldn't finish it, I mean that if you guys know the ending, where she comes out of the TV when they think it's all over and gets the dude, the main dude in the movie. I can't remember what his name is, but anyway, I did not watch that. I did not see Samara's face till I was 22 years old. I intentionally avoided seeing her face. She would come out of the TV, and before she looked up and her hair parted, I would cover my eyes. So that is a movie that scarred me. One of the scariest movies I saw when I was a child. So that movie. I remember my mom. We bought it on a VHS tape. We went to the video store and they had it for sale. They, the used copies that they would have. We all sat down for the first time and watched it. And the scene that gets me the most and still gets me today is not the ending. Yet it's terrifying. It's a terrifying ending. But the scene in the beginning of the movie where they open the closet and the girl is sitting there and her face is all deformed and that was scary. And that screeching halt in that scene, and it's just a second, is creepy. That gets me. That's one thing that doesn't get talked about a lot is the faces in the movie after Samara gets you. Are we rebuying? Yes, I rebuy. What about you, Justin?
I rebuy. Oh yeah. I mean, I rebuy.
Like I said, my thing is I get caught up sometimes with new movies, and I'm buying new movies that are coming out, and I haven't gone back and gotten everything on Blu-ray. There's a movie I'm going to talk about in a little bit that I don't own on Blu-ray yet. But yes, let's see. Didn't know there was going to be another orphan. Yeah, and the girl's coming back. The same girl that played the orphan. So we'll see how that goes. What did Dennis say? Do we have any Halloween books?
I have some Fangoria magazines, and see, I don't have the books. I have magazines put away.
I have the novelization of 3, and I have the novelization of Halloween 4. I have not read Halloween 4's novelization yet. I have read this one. This is a little different from the movie, but not by much. It actually gives you a little bit more. This was like $40 because these are really hard to find now. But this book, this is a really good book, Season of the Witch.
I have some stuff, but it's put away. But yeah, I do have some stuff.
Ghost Ship. I haven't seen that movie in forever.
It grows on me each time I watch it. It's now, great, in my opinion, a great movie. The opening sequence, I loved it then. I still love it now. The buildup is great.
Let's see. The original Japanese Ring movies. Nice.
I'll have to see those. I have not seen those yet. I will watch those.
The Ring in the
I'll tell you what.
Bored.
You are bored. Oh, it's okay. It's all right. We got opinions again.
But I could never be bored watching that movie. That scared the crap out of me.
Okay. Speaking of do you like sleepaway camp movies? Oh, yeah, that's a question for you,
Justin.
You what?
I've never seen them.
Oh, well, one is classic in my opinion. 2 and 3 are great though. So just the first 3.
I haven't seen them, guys. Please don't throw rocks at me.
Can't throw. No.
But yeah, I haven't seen them, but they've been on my mind, actually my to-do list to buy them because Lee McCoy from Drum Dums did a video a week or 2 ago talking about how they're making a remake. And I'm like, oh, wow, I want to see that. So I got to see the original ones before I see that. So yeah, I do plan on watching them, and I will do a ranking for them, I promise. And then Justin, have you seen Night of the Demons, and what'd you think?
Love Night of the Demons. That's one of my favorites. And I tell you what, again, growing up, I did not see the movie for the longest time because the original cover, every time I would go into the video store, terrified me. It was like Fright Night seeing that cover, and I would always bypass it. But Night of the Demons, I love that movie. My first experience watching a Night of the Demons movie, though, was part 2. And I was at home one day. I was sick from school, and my mom was working. And there was a VHS copy with no artwork of Night of the Demons 2. And I'm like, what is this movie? I put that movie on, and as a kid, it terrified me. But the first movie is a classic. I love it so much. Great movie. Yes. Yeah.
I love Night of the Demons as well. That movie, I remember when I first watched it on HBO when I was a teenager, like late night. And I was like, what the hell is this? Like that movie. Yeah. When I first saw it, I had no idea what I was watching. But yes, I really do enjoy it. I do.
I love that movie.
Dennis, I don't hate you for that.
I don't hate you. I love the Jeepers Creepers. I actually was almost going to bring those up. Jeepers Creepers, and even Jeepers Creepers 2. I know it gets hate, but I love both Jeepers Creepers 1 and 2. I think they're great. I know there's some dark history, there's history with those movies and the director and everything, but the movies themselves, I separate my love for the movies from the director. Yeah. You know what? Do you know the history with the director at all?
Very well.
But I love the movies. I love the films. Sometimes you have to separate movies from directors or actors. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean it's hard sometimes, but sometimes you have to separate the art from the artist. And I can separate the art from the artist because I don't think everybody else that was a part of that movie should have to suffer for that guy piece of work.
Exactly.
Exactly. It's well acted. It's well shot. It's creepy as hell. The Creeper has the potential to be, a modern horror icon. So, I absolutely, I love the Jeepers. The first 2 movies. I think the third one's pretty bad. But
yeah. What? I like 1. Okay, so 1. I love 1. I love 1 and 2. I love 1 because you don't see the creeper's face too much. It's all dark shadows. It takes place at night. I love that about it. And it's not revealed until the very end where you see the full creeper.
Yep.
I love part 2 because, and I know it gets hate, but I love the fact that part 2, it takes place pretty much around a bus scene. They're trapped in there. And the fact that like he's antagonizing these teenagers and picking them off one by one, that's creepy. I love that.
So fun. Part 2 is just so fun. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like it's not as scary really as the first one because it's a lot less isolated in the sense of there's a lot of people. It's but it's so fun. Jeepers Creepers 3 just didn't know what it wanted to be, and just wasn't scary. The visual effects were bad. The acting was bad.
It's been a long time since I've seen it. The one time I did see it, I was like, it's okay. I wish that movie had a bigger budget, but I also wish they were a blast. I love them. I love 1 and 2. I wish that movie would have taken place at night. Like that's the thing about part 3.
Yep.
It does not take place at night.
And you know why, right? Because they didn't have the money to adequately light all those night scenes. So they replaced it with a bunch of days. In order to save money, they thought we'll shoot a lot of it in the daytime. Problem is the first 2 movies are all nighttime almost. All nighttime.
That's like you miss the magic. Yeah, I mean,
the Creeper's a lot scarier at night than he is walking around at noon killing people. Like it just I don't know.
Yeah.
Dan says, well said, Justin.
Thank you.
Jeepers Creepers is a really good movie. You know it.
I agree.
Your wife bought you a Creeper Funko Pop.
I have the Creeper Funko around the other side of the room. Yeah.
All right, Sarah. I'm gonna go get my charger. So Justin, you go ahead with this question.
Have you seen The Prophecy, the monster movie? I've seen it once, and I remember liking it. That was one of those films I saw on AMC, like during the Fear Fest month when they would play just a whole bunch of different horror movies. And The Prophecy was one of them. And I don't remember it like clearly, but I remember moments throughout the film. And I think it has the actress from Rocky in it, who played Adrian. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that is the actress who was in Rocky. But I remember Prophecy. I remember liking some of the practical effects that were in the movie. I thought that was cool, and I thought it had a great atmosphere. So yes, I do remember The Prophecy. So
I have not seen it.
Yes,
but I have heard about it. I have been told that it's something I should check out, but I have not seen it now. So
all right.
Let me. Sorry. Basically,
oh, you're good.
This ring light is hooked up to my laptop because I didn't have another wall box, whatever, to plug into the wall. So this is and the laptop died, so I'm trying to charge the laptop to get the ring light back on. Here we go.
Oh, no
All
problem.
right. So Justin, do you have another movie you'd like to talk about?
I do. Speaking of movies, renting on VHS, and later somebody had mentioned, like, would you rebuy Blu-rays or buy movies on Blu-ray? I have this on Blu-ray, but I think it's a shame that we have yet to get, for this movie alone, I know it's mixed by fans now, people love it or hate it, but I would buy a collector's edition of this movie. I think it's about time we got the Blair Witch Project. This is for me top 10 favorite horror movies of all time. I remember the marketing being so good when this came out. It was so believable. And as a kid watching this, and I remember going to Blockbuster, renting the VHS tape, as a kid, I believed all this was real. And it was just because the marketing was so good. I remember the website, they had a website for this, and they said, if you have any information, go to this website. They did such a great job with the marketing. This is still one of my all-time favorites. And it's crazy how, and everybody has their opinions, and I totally respect that, but it's crazy how this movie, when it came out, was so loved by people. But over the years, and I don't know if it's because we've had so many found footage movies that now it's divided by people. But this was groundbreaking when it came out. Like, this was a groundbreaking movie, and it's still today one of my favorites. And I've got to meet a few of the cast members. I want a collector's edition of this movie. Like, somebody release this. I think it's about time we got a documentary on a making of, like, something.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Blair Witch Project, one I loved as a kid, and I still love it today. Yes.
Yep.
So what do you think of that?
Getting through these comments. The original's a classic. Still, yep.
Huh?
Blair Witch is great. Okay, so I'll answer your question in a second, crying. But about the Blair Witch Project, I saw the Blair Witch Project for the first time as a 10 or 11-year-old. I was at my buddy's house, and his mom rented it for us because we had wanted to see it because the marketing made us believe that it was real. And I watched it, and oh my goodness. That is, when I was a kid, one of the scarier horror movie experiences I had at that point. I believe it was real. Yes, I absolutely love the Blair Witch Project. So then rolling into the question, do you like Blair Witch 2? I do not like Book of Shadows. I know Justin likes it. I've only seen it twice, and I get why people like it. It's just not my thing. But you know, I'm not a huge fan. I really enjoy the sequel from 2016. I believe
that was good.
Blair Witch. I really enjoyed that one. But Blair Witch 2, not so much. But Justin,
so the 2016 movie was good. I liked it, especially in theaters. Like the speakers and like you can hear things around us. It was effective. Blair Witch 2, I can understand why people don't like it. It's a film that when it came out, it's a movie that went a totally different direction. When I first saw it back in 2000 when it came out on VHS, I did not like it because I was like, what is this movie? It's now a film that I love. I love the idea behind it because you had Blair Witch. When it came out, the fan base was crazy. People believed it. People loved it. And so Blair Witch 2 for me, and this is how I feel about it, is a film based on those fans. And it just so happens in that movie that it was real and they encountered something that was real. I like the idea that it's a film based on surrounding the fan base of the first movie. I love that idea. Now, Blair Witch 2, though, that movie came out and a lot of people didn't like it, and it was because they reshot a lot of it. It's not the director's original vision. He had a different vision of it. And so a lot of the stuff that you see in that theatrical film was all reshot, and it was the studio interfering. And I know that there is, don't quote me on this, but I think that there is the original version out there somewhere, and it would just need to be reworked. And I would buy Blair Witch 2 on Blu-ray, both if they had the theatrical cut, because I do love it, and maybe a director's cut on that disc, just to kind of see what they did with Blair Witch 2 and how different it is. Yeah. Again, I understand if people don't like it, and I totally get it. It's a different type of film, but for me personally, over time, I love it.
Yeah. All right. Dan.
Sorry, I kind of went on like a little bit of a talk with Blair Witch 2.
You're good. You're good, man. A scene from a movie that terrified you as a kid but makes you laugh today. Justin, can you think of anything?
I'm trying to think. I don't know if a movie that terrified me as a kid that makes me laugh today. I don't know if there's. I can't think of a movie like just right off the top of my head, but there are films that I watched as a kid that terrified me that I watch today, and I'm like, it's not as scary now. I still like it. But I can't think of a movie right off. How about you?
I'm looking at my shelf because I'm trying to think. It from 1990. And not the movie as a whole. With the scene where he's in the shower drain in the like boys' locker room, scared the crap out of me as a kid. A lot of those scenes did, and now I laugh because I'm not scared of Pennywise anymore, so I laugh at his lines. Like I'm not afraid to laugh anymore at it. So yeah, that's definitely one of them.
That was the one I brought in. It's good.
2019 Blair Witch video game. I haven't played it.
I haven't played it.
I should give Blair Witch 2 another chance. Oh, sorry. Hold up. Should give it another chance. Okay. I'll give it another chance. All right. I'll give it another chance. I'm not. Oh, no. Hello. I'm not one of those people that just turns away from movies entirely. Studio's always messing with movies. I would love a Blair Witch 2 director's cut. Yep. Then bye. All right. Yeah. Bye. Thanks for stopping in.
Bye. All
Should
right.
I buy the video game of Blair Witch? I don't know. Like I said,
I've never played. I didn't even know there was a video game. So very cool. So
all right. So, were you up?
I think you were up. Yeah, you were up.
Okay. So this is a movie that I saw. I want to talk about this and address this really quick with people because this is going to come across as blasphemous. I did not see this movie until about 2 years ago. It's not really a horror movie. It kind of is. It kind of isn't. It's more of like a thriller, suspense, mystery type movie. And that is, but it's classic, so I want to talk about it. The Silence of the Lambs. Now, why did I wait so long to watch Silence of the Lambs? Because it was one of those movies that got so much hype, I was worried that when I finally watched it, I was going to be let down. Because so many people are like, oh, it's fantastic, it's great, it's incredible, you should watch it. And I was like, everybody keeps telling me that. What if I go into it with these super high expectations and it bums me out? Well, it didn't bum me out. I love Silence of the Lambs. And one of the things about the movie that, like I said, not really horror. I mean, a lot of people consider it horror, but that whole ending sequence when she's going through the house in the dark, that is a really creepy sequence. Because as you're watching it for the first time, like I was, I didn't know if this guy was going to come out and kill her or what was going to happen. Silence of the Lambs, guys. Just recently watched it a few years ago for the first time. Really, really dig it. And I just wanted to mention that movie because that's a classic. So
I mean, it's a classic movie. I mean, I'm going to be honest. It's a great movie and I do love it, but it's not one I can watch a lot. I don't know. It's disturbing. It's creepy. I do think it's great though. I like the fact that movie is like when I was growing up, I always thought, yes, Anthony Hopkins definitely is like one of the best things about the movie. But if you think about it, he's not the main villain. He's not actually I don't really consider him a villain in that. Yes, he's not a good guy, but the villain of the story is I'm thinking of Buffalo Bill. He's the villain, where Anthony Hopkins, like as a kid, I thought he was like the main villain. He's not the main villain. Like rewatching it as an adult, it's like it's interesting how like you watch something as a kid and you go and watch it years later. And for me, that was like something that was an eye-opener thing. I'm like, he's not the villain, but it's a great movie. It is a great movie.
Yep. Dennis asked about Cujo. Classic. Love Cujo.
Classic. Yep. Cujo's great.
Although I will say it's unfortunate that movie definitely played into people being afraid of dogs, big dogs like that. Stephen King it's very rare that man goes wrong with his writing. The only thing that you have to worry about is if directors and screenwriters are going to screw his story up when they make it into a movie. But more often than not, no, it's he's pretty much money. So love Cujo. And then, went into it with high expectations, not caring for it. Yeah, that's what I was worried about with it. But I really enjoyed it. So you should give Silence of the Lambs another try. It really, I mean, it is, like Justin said, it's very disturbing. It's there's a lot to that movie that's just really creepy.
It's just realistic.
I like all three movies. I like Silence of the Lambs. I like Hannibal. And I like the one that a lot of people don't know about, Red Dragon, which is a prequel to Silence of the Lambs, which has Anthony Hopkins in it. So if you haven't seen Red Dragon, it's actually on HBO Max, guys.
It's a good one.
It is very enjoyable. I like all three of those movies. So, Justin, the floor is yours for your next movie.
All right. So this is so random. It's random. But as a kid, I watched it. I love this movie, by the way. So I know it gets hate. I know it does. It's not on everybody's high list, but I love it. But as a kid, this terrified me. I just remember little things about this movie. And it was like one of my first times I ever saw Jason in a hockey mask. Oh, are you ready for this? Jason Takes Manhattan. First of all, and I know it doesn't get love, I understand it's campy. It's campy. And it doesn't take place all in New York. It's Jason on a boat. But as a kid, I was like 8 years old, I remember going through the TV and seeing parts of this, and I was terrified. I think what creeped me out as a kid was the fact you had little Jason in this movie, and every time you saw him, like he would get deformed more and more. And that was like I had never seen the original Friday the 13th when I saw this movie. So Watching it now, yes, that little Jason kid is a little cheesy and the makeup's not the greatest. But it terrified me as a kid, and I'm not gonna lie, it's a film that I love today. Is it my favorite Friday the 13th movie? Absolutely not, but I do love some Jason Takes Manhattan.
Yes, he is legendary. Sarah
Yeah,
says Jason Takes Vancouver.
that's true. They filmed a lot of it in Canada.
Oh, Justin, this one's for you.
Hey, oh, it's my buddy. Let's see. Let's see. Just want to stop by and say hi since you guys were at work. What's up, buddy? It's nice to see you, bud. So
Yeah, we do these Mondays at 5 p.m. That's what William. Stop trying to get William. Yeah, 5 p.m. on Mondays. That's when we do them.
by the way, he has a great channel. You guys should check out Trash Film Home Video. I'm loving his stuff. David, you rock, bud. And yeah, loving your videos. So keep them up. And thank you for stopping in.
Yes, thank you for stopping in. Crying says Manhattan is definitely a love-hate relationship for me. Yeah, I want to address Justin's pick really quick. I just recently watched Takes Manhattan about a week ago, and I totally agree with all the points you made. It's no secret. There's a lot. It's basically on the cruise ship. You don't really get what you're promised, so I think that's a problem just because of the title. But it's not. It's not terrible. Like, I've seen some terrible movies, and a terrible movie that I talked about recently was Freddy's Dead. I think that movie is
that's unwatchable. I can't watch that.
So yeah, it's not terrible. Let's see, Red Dragon, check out Manhunter. Yeah, I know. I was reading about Manhunter.
I've heard it's really good.
I haven't seen it though. So, and then yeah, Trash Film Home Video says, well, guys, back to work.
Thanks for stopping in, buddy. I appreciate it. Again, check out his stuff. Like, yeah. I'll have to. Yeah, great stuff.
All right, so I don't know if I grabbed any more off the shelf.
I have, yeah.
Go ahead with another one.
You got one? Okay. So I'm just gonna pile all these together because obviously they came out around the same time. So I'm gonna talk about two different type of franchises. As a 90s kid, I rented these so much at the video store, had the VHS tapes. I saw these movies somehow. So I'm going to talk about the Scream movies for just a second. We all know Scream. I love Scream. I love Scream. The first three movies, though, were huge memories for me because they were all films I saw on VHS for the first time. Scream 4, I really enjoy that.
Me too.
But the first three, for me, growing up, living in Oregon, and renting the first Scream on VHS, I say we probably watched it 3 times before we returned it. It's right when it came out on VHS. And the opening with Drew Barrymore is still so creepy and eerie. Love that. Scream 2, I remember, I can't remember if we rented them. I think we rented Scream 2 at Blockbuster and then later on bought it. But Scream 2, another great one. I love, again, the opening, the movie theater scene is so good. That's one of my favorite sequels ever made is Scream 2. I love it. And Scream 3 was a film, and nowadays we have on demand and we have streaming, but for me, I remember seeing Scream 3 and it was a Friday night, and my mom's big into horror movies and my sisters are too. And we rented Scream 3 on demand. It was one of those things where you purchased it, I think it was $19.99. And watching Scream 3 at home, we had McDonald's, we were chilling, we were watching this. These movies, huge impact on me. I think for a lot of people. And I still love this franchise. I look forward to the next one. And I saw Scream 4 in theaters, really enjoyed it, really enjoy it now. There's things that I love about it. But yes, the first 3 Scream films, those are big ones for me. Growing up.
Really quick, I have to go pee. But there's a question for you, Justin. So go ahead and answer this one while I'm gone.
Do you like Jason Goes to Hell, Justin? I prefer that one over Manhattan. You know what? I'm going to say this. I love Jason Goes to Hell. It's not, I prefer Manhattan over Jason Goes to Hell. but I love it. I love Jason Goes to Hell. That was another movie. I think as a kid, 2000. I remember it was a channel that was on, and sitting there watching this movie, and I'm like, what is this film? And it was Jason Goes to Hell. So it's so much fun to you look back on a lot of movies that we probably saw for the first time on TV. And like for me, Jason Goes to Hell was a movie I saw on TV. And as a kid, it creeped me out. As a kid, it creeped me out. But I do love Jason Goes to Hell. I understand if people don't love it, if people don't like it. It's a different concept for a Friday the 13th film, but I do love it. I think it has a great look. It has a great atmosphere. I think the opening is great. That whole idea of, and they, when you watch it for the first time, the whole opening where you have like the one female character go into her cabin and having that build up there. And then it's revealed that, she's a police officer and then Jason dies. That whole opening's great. So, yeah. I don't know. I keep rambling. I'm sorry.
Scream 3 is my favorite. Yeah, we've talked about that. Crying. I'm coming around. I enjoy it. Okay. But it's my least favorite in the series. But I do enjoy it. I personally think that Sydney is awesome in Scream 3. Dan says that'll be the quote of the show. Scream 3. It was a film. Yes, it was a film. Really quick, I want to address Scream before we address this question. Yeah, I love the Scream movies. I am absolutely over the moon about the new one. I'm so excited for it.
Me too.
But yeah, I mean, it's one of those series that I don't know. I don't think there's truly a terrible movie in this series.
No,
all have enjoyment, and the one that lacks for me is Scream 3, and that's just because, it didn't have Kevin Williamson, and you can tell, the other three had Kevin Williamson writing them, and they just, they seem to flow better when he writes them. But, I mean, again, I don't hate it. But Bill asks about the I Know What You Did Last Summer series. Yeah. Was that another one you wanted to talk about?
I did, because this again was another one of those, growing up in the 90s and watching trailers or watching movies on VHS. Like, I remember watching this trailer in the 90s and I want to see this movie so bad. I Know What You Did Last Summer. And I have one of the best stories with this. And, I always bring it up to my dad. My dad's like, why do you keep bringing up this story? But seeing I Know What You Did Last Summer for the first time, I was actually visiting my dad. We went to a grocery store do you remember how grocery stores would have video rental stores in them? Small little section, but you can rent movies. So we went to the grocery store one day. I'm looking at the movies and I see this cover right here. And I knew what it was. I knew what I Know We Did Last Summer was. I wanted to see this movie. My dad saw this cover and goes, and I asked him, I said, can I rent this movie? He said, yeah, Justin, it looks like a good family movie. And he was not kidding when he said this looked like a family movie. We got out to the car, and I admitted to him, I said, this is an R-rated movie. Are you okay with me watching this? Because he wasn't a horror movie fan. He was kind of strict on what I watched or what I watched when I went to go visit him. And he was he was a little bummed out, but he was like, you can watch this movie. And I remember watching this for the first time and loving it. And this is a movie that I still today love so much. But my memories that I have of renting this movie and my dad thinking that this was a family movie, this cover was a family movie, was beyond me. Mm-hmm. I love this movie so much. I think it's a film that a lot of people like to say, Scream ripoff, or it came after Scream. But there's a lot of great things about this movie. I think Helen as a character, Sarah Michelle Gellar, I think she's great. I wish she, honestly, I do like Jennifer Love Hewitt in this movie. But I think Helen as a character, Sarah Michelle Gellar, was great. And she had one of the best chase scenes. That buildup was so good. I think the overall characters are likable. They were your everyday characters in a small town. I like The Fisherman. I think he's a great killer. Um, it was done so well. I still love this movie today. I think it holds up well, and yeah, I Know What You Did Last Summer. So, what do you think about this one? And I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. I do love that too.
I really enjoy I Know What You Did Last Summer. I always have. I think it's one of my favorite 90s horror movies. I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. I rewatched that a couple weeks ago, actually.
I do love it.
I enjoy it. I definitely enjoy it, but I think that for me, the first one is the best one. I know that they made one called I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer. I never saw that.
It's not very good.
So yeah, I mean, I really enjoy it, and
Justice for Michelle Gellar. Yes,
I absolutely that was a movie that I watched as a kid too, because these movies were popular when I was growing up in the 90s. So like I saw a lot of these movies, and I Know What You Did Last Summer. Like my memories of it are, I was never scared by it, but I thought it was really well done. I thought it was creepy. I thought just the idea of how it starts off of like, you think you kill someone, and then it comes back to haunt you.
Well, there's a couple positives with that. If I interrupt you, just let me know. Say, Justin.
No, you're fine. That's all I was going to say is that I just really find that idea like really unique and interesting.
I do too. A couple other things that I love the fact that Kevin Williamson wrote this, and he wrote Scream. He was a big staple. I mean, he's still writing today, but like his films in the 90s, like you could tell when Kevin Williamson wrote something. He did a great job with this. And I know the author who wrote the book is not happy with this movie. I've read the book. It is not a slasher movie. It is a thriller. And in fact, Helen, the character Sarah Michelle Gellar played, is the lead in the book. It's a very good book. If you've never read it, I recommend just checking it out. But I love this movie. So Kevin Williamson did such a great job writing this. And I love the fact that like you have these characters, these 4 characters, and none of them die up until like the third climax of the film. Like he was very good at like developing these characters, building up these characters. And then you have the third climax where some of them aren't going to make it. So I love the writing. So huge shout out to Kevin Williamson. I think is just great.
Crying is just talking about how it's hard to pick which one you like better.
I love I Know You Did Last Summer, and I love the film I Still Know You Did Last Summer. I rented that so much.
Yeah, she's fine. We're talking more about her character in the movie.
Yeah, her character. I think Helen is such a great character, and I Know You Did Last Summer. Like for me, I do like Julie. I like Jennifer Love Hewitt in it. I think she does a great job. But I think Helen, there's just so many great moments with her, and she's a very likable character. Especially, there's a heart-to-heart moment that she has with Jennifer Love Hewitt, and she's telling her, she's pretty much like, what happened to us? We were like the best of friends, and you have the character Julie just pretty much saying, we've changed. And the very next scene you have, or one of the next moments in the movie is Helen's demise. And that whole chase scene is great. The fact that you have this like 10 to 12 minute moment with just Sarah Michelle Gellar, Helen, being chased, going down the alley, and then finally dying. And it's so heartbreaking. I love that character. I love the character of Helen and Sarah Michelle Gellar. So,
yep. All right. You had what do you have left?
Okay. So I'll go through. Okay, we'll talk about this one. I know Prom Night, the original Prom Night. I love the original Prom Night. This is just a film that outside of the main slasher franchises that we had, this is one of those films outside of that franchise that I saw. One of the first slasher movies. I had that really bad DVD where you did not see, you couldn't see pretty much any of the movie. I had that for the longest time, and I'm glad Prom Night got a Blu-ray from Synapse. I think this is fantastic. I know it's a film that, it's hit and miss with people. I love Prom Night. Jamie Lee Curtis, the whole third act at the prom's great, and I own the soundtrack. And from time to time, I will play the soundtrack loud in the house. So
Yeah, I love Prom
Prom
Night
Night.
as well. I don't care for the remake. Crying said I've only seen the remake. I don't like the remake. I do like the original.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I like the remake. So, but
I saw that in theaters.
I did too. And you know what? I think I have the movie ticket.
But and then there was another one I saw you wanted to talk about. Might have to do with a clown.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So you were talking about this movie, and we were talking about films that it's not as scary now compared to when we first saw it. But I remember seeing it, and I was at my aunt's house, and she was cooking breakfast, and my cousins and my younger sister, we were all sitting down in the living room, and my aunt puts this movie on. We have no idea what this movie is. And then when you get to Georgie's demise, we were all terrified. Pennywise, Tim Curry, which, by the way, still fantastic as Pennywise. We were all just terrified of him. We were terrified of this movie. My aunt I think she threw away the VHS tape because my cousins were so scared of this film that they would not watch it again. They would not go to sleep with this movie in the house. But it terrified us all as a kid. It's one of my favorite Stephen King miniseries now. I realized growing up that it was a miniseries, but I always thought of this movie as a film. I remember years later not realizing that there was a second half of this movie because it obviously ends with part one when the kids are younger. And I didn't realize that, there was a second half of this film. So it wasn't until the early 2000s where I finally saw the second half of this miniseries. It scared me so much that I did not watch this miniseries or this movie for the longest time. It has some outdated moments, but I think it has a lot of strong moments, and it's still a film or a miniseries that I love. So what's your thoughts?
Yeah, it scared the crap out of me when I was a kid. And Tim Curry, needs no endorsement from me. He was fantastic. We all know that. Obviously, the second part of it being a little more underwhelming than the first part. But as a kid, the Losers Club, that was awesome. I mean, I still respect the hell out of that miniseries. I love it. It's a little long, but it's a miniseries, not technically a movie, so that we can expect that. But I absolutely love it. My memories of that are, again, my mother showing that to me, and that scared the crap out of me when I was a kid. But it's crazy too, because as a kid, like, I'm scared, but also, like, Pennywise is giving all these one-liners and cracking these jokes, and, like, you think you're supposed to laugh, but I'm sitting here looking at this guy, and I'm like, you're scary. Like,
he's scary. He's I mean, I interrupted you again. So if I interrupt you,
that's pretty much what I was gonna say. That that's how I feel about it. I still really respect it. I mean, I like the modern adaptation, I think, a little bit more. And I think that was just because there was just better character development, whatever it may be. But I just felt like there was more there.
I love the new ones.
But it scared the crap out of me for sure.
Absolutely love them.
Which ones are your favorites when it comes to, like, horror remakes? Okay, so for me, off the top of my head, I can think of Evil Dead is probably my favorite horror remake, although it's technically a reboot. It's not really a remake. I love Child's Play. And oh my goodness. And sneaky pick that I really enjoy is Carrie. I actually really enjoy the Carrie remake.
It's grown on me. I don't love it, I will admit, but I do enjoy it. And
Texas Chainsaw Massacre is my favorite.
That is, I'm going to say this right now. If you would have talked to me, and you know this, I mean, we've known each other for a long time. If you would have talked to me years ago, I would have said Halloween's my favorite remake. I still really enjoy that movie. We've talked about it already, but I think there's things about it that aren't as good now. I think it kind of loses a little bit of quality. My favorite remake is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake. I love that so much. I love, Sarah mentioned House on Haunted Hill. I love that. Talking about Dark Castle Entertainment. I love that. I love House of Wax. Trying to think of some Evil Dead when I first saw it in theaters, I did not like it, but I love it now, rewatching it so much, or rewatching it over and over. I'm trying to think like some other great remakes. The Blob from 1988 is great. I know we just talked about it. I know it's a mini series, but I will always consider the original film, like the original story miniseries, a movie. So I love the new adaptations that we have. I'm actually going to do like my top 10 favorite horror movie remakes. It's been a long time since I've done that video, and my opinions have changed, and so you're going to see that. But my favorite horror movie remake is Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So.
And then we got people giving their lists: Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, Texas Chainsaw.
Nightmare on Elm Street. Love Nightmare.
Yep. Performances. Pennywise. He's great as Pennywise, but the newer movies are better.
Agreed.
Yeah. Ken mentions The Thing, Evil Dead, Child's Play. Yep.
Child's Play is great. Child's Play is great.
Love the Crazies. Love the
Crazies. And I will say this, I love the Friday the 13th remake. I know it doesn't get a lot of love, but I do love that. Dawn of the Dead. Great movie.
It's another one. Actually, I'm doing a video with Ken and I, as soon as we get off here, I'm shooting a video with Ken ranking the Saw franchise. So
nice. I'm in the process of watching those.
Ken, I'm trying to think here. We're about to wrap up here. So I appreciate you popping in.
Thank you.
Give me a few minutes. Yep, Saul, we're doing it, and I will be over that way. Okay. What other movies did you have, Justin?
Real quick, the last two, because I those mom and pop video stores, you come across like a whole bunch of stuff. I don't know if you've seen it, but Witchboard. Have you seen it?
I have not.
Oh. Put it on your must-watch list. Director of Night of the Demons directed this. I think he did this first. Witchboard, as a kid, we talked about how all these movies scared us, but yeah, it freaked me out as a kid. I still love it today, though. It's one of my favorites. And then Witchboard 2, The Devil's Doorway.
Okay.
Which, again, I saw both of these so many times on VHS. Saw them on TV, but my memories are video store memories renting both of these. Witchboard 2, for me, is a great, underrated horror movie sequel. And still, like, two of my all-time favorites.
I haven't seen them, but if you speak highly of them, I need to give them a watch because, like I said, we have very similar tastes. So I definitely need to check those out. That's taking a trip down memory lane, guys. That's what we did today. We wanted to talk about some movies that were near and dear to our hearts, and some, our first experiences with them, what we think of them now. I absolutely love doing these streams with Justin. They're so fun.
I love them.
And they always go, an hour and a half, 2 hours. So just know when we do them, guys, you're going to be here for a little bit. So I appreciate a lot of you guys sticking in. Everyone that tunes in, thanks so much. As I said last week, Justin and I talked about, we're going to be doing these on Mondays at 5 p.m. I'm going to spitball some ideas with Justin about what next week's is going to be. But we will be back next Monday. Justin, anything you want to say?
Thank you, first of all, again, and I say this every time, and I truly mean it. Thank you, Nick, for, again, inviting me on. I think we have so much fun doing this, and it's been a blast. These go long, but it seems like they go quick for us. Thank you to everybody who just tunes in and watches and comments and interacts with us. It's so awesome, and I cannot wait to do more of these with you, Nick. It's going to be a blast. Thank you so much, Crying. I really appreciate it. Thank you all. It's fun to talk with you, Nick. It's fun to come up with these topics. It's great to have you all come in and interact with us. So it's a blast. So thank you. And
Hey, the pleasure's all mine. I love doing these with you. I think we have great conversation, and I love that the live chat is always, everybody's always commenting
so
in the live
awesome.
chat. And guys, sometimes we go off on tangents because like we're trying to talk about what we're talking about, but we also want to address you guys in the live chat.
Yeah, they're the best.
Yeah, so
the best.
Honestly,
and if I ramble,
yeah,
if I ramble
we
too
both
much,
do. Yeah, we both do. I mean, it's like you talk about stuff you love, and next thing you know, you've spent 10 minutes talking about one thing, and you're like, oh, we should probably move on. But we're both that way. So, but yeah, seriously, guys, thank you so much. And we will be back on Monday at 5 p.m. So I will make sure to drop a thumbnail for that, depending on what we're doing. I'll think about what we're going to do. I'll have to get with Justin, and I'll let you guys know. So again, thanks for stopping by. Nick at the Lost River Drive-In saying good night.
All right. Bye, guys.